next to me, I've got legendary game designer Peter Molyneux, now of 22 Cans, and we're here to talk about Godus. Peter, welcome to the stage.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I always get worried about being called legendary.
All right,
Because don't you have legendary on a tombstone?
That's okay.
You know, is it like saying, for Christ's sake, just drop dead and die?
once you're in there, then we can attach the legend. So how about fairly old game developer Peter Molyneux?
That's even better. I feel so much better about that description.
All right. So Peter, your new project Godus, this we're getting the demo set up right now, but let's lay the groundwork for folks, because this is a project born of a Kickstarter project. It's to some degree.
I mean,
what's
here's
the genesis?
thing. It actually goes way back a little bit before the Kickstarter project, and Kickstarter is just this amazing vehicle, which we'll talk about a bit. But you know, I was working on a game series called Fable, and you know, I worked on it with some incredible people, and it was on consoles. And while I was developing Fable, all this amazing stuff was going on in the rest of the world. You know, there was Touch that came about, and there was, you know, the iPhone, and then Android, and then and while that was going on, there was something that really incensed me. It kind of made me angry, in that on Facebook there were these Facebook games that came up, so kind of browser-based games, and they were calling themselves God games. And you know, you've probably seen quite a few of them. I'm not going to name them, but you know, they're from big companies in San Francisco, beginning with a Z, sort of their games.
You know, that just generally speaking. Yeah.
And I kind of thought to myself, you know what? I was incredibly lucky to stumble across a genre of game called God games back in the sort of late 80s, early 90s. And I asked myself, well, you know, I don't like the direction that those God games are going in. They seem to be very greedy, and they're taking the spirit of what a God game is to give people this lovely, delightful, charming world for them to interact with and for them to be surprised by, and they're kind of squeezing the loveliness out of it, corrupting it like a viral cancer.
Wow.
Maybe that's a bit over the top.
So anyway, is it like a landlord game or something? You know, I mean, you haven't
farmy sort of game.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need to go any further. But you know, to me, this is one of the you know, this genre of game gave birth to me.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, I'd love to have, you know, a go. You know, I'd love to think about reinventing it. And so I left Fable, I left Microsoft, I set up a new company called 22 Cans, and our single focus really is to reinvent that God game genre. Now, if you're going to do that, you've got to think about everything in the world at the moment. And there's some amazing, exciting stuff in the world. There is the fact that we've got all sorts of platforms. We've got this thing, we've got the iPad, we've got, you know, iPhones, we've got consoles, we've got PC, we've got Macs, we've got Linux, we've got all of that stuff. Wouldn't it be amazing to have a game which is available on all those platforms? Wouldn't it be amazing to have a game that used this weird thing called the cloud in an incredible way? Wouldn't it be amazing to have a game which core gamers can play and casual gamers can play? And those are all the things that were bubbling around in my mind. Anyway, I decided to do something which was a little bit insane, which was this experiment called Curiosity.
That was a little bit insane, yeah, but very, very I mean, that was a sort of an experiment, as you say, and it was a very large cube made up of tiny tiles.
And people could tap away, and we said there was this thing in the middle of the cube which was life-changing. And over the course of sort of 6 months, there were billions of cubes tapped away and millions of people interacting
on
with
all
cubes.
sorts of different devices, tapping their way through to the core. But the core discovery, the thing was only one person is going to find that thing.
That's right. That's what we said. We said that what was in the middle was going to be life-changing for only one single person. And me as a game designer, that's interesting, you know, because I think in today's world, when you're designing a game, if you're thinking about how to approach, new innovation, you need to think about motivation. What's going to motivate me to play? Now, a story is a great thing to motivate me to play. An achievement is a great thing to motivate me to play. But is it enough to say a mystery, just a single mystery? What's inside the box? And this idea I stole from J.J. Abrams. And he came out in a TED talk. He came out and put a box on the table with a big question mark on it. And he said, wondering what's inside a box led me to be the person I am today. And I found that intriguing. So we set up this experiment. We learned an enormous amount of how new gameplay and new gameplay mechanics and new ways of interacting with experience concurrently with hundreds or thousands of people can change your approach to a game.
All right, you're killing me. What was inside the box? Tell me. I mean, I know.
This is all I said about what was inside the box. It's got to be life-changing. It's got to be interesting. It's got to be controversial.
And what it ended up being wasn't life-changing in the sort of hyperbolic way that, people talk about, oh, this new experience is going to change your life. It's innovative. It's unlike anything we've done before. It actually is going to have a changing effect on someone's life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is. What is in the center of the box is I am reinventing or trying to reinvent a genre of game called God Games with a game called Godus. And because now all games in the world can be connected via the cloud, that means we can have one person, he's going to be called the God of Gods, who decides on the moral flavors in everyone's game. He decides on what's right and what's wrong.
And everyone inside that entire game.
All of the people now, who knows how many people are going to play the game. For all of those people, he decides that. Plus, he shares in the royalties of the game.
Plus, he gets a cut?
He gets a cut, yeah.
I mean, it's good to be a god, I guess.
It's good to be a god. Of course he should get a cut. He has the right to be God of Gods for 6 months.
Okay.
And then someone can challenge him. And they challenged him to a battle. There are battles in Godus, and you play with your godly powers against another human being. They challenge him. If they win, they take on the role of God of Gods. They then earn the royalties. They then will change the moral compass of everyone's world of the game. It's insane, man. I mean,
it seems a little bonkers to me, Peter.
It is insane, but it's interesting. It is fascinating, and it'll be fascinating to see how that pans out.
Very true. I mean, as a game developer, to put into the hands of someone, give them a hand on the wheel, basically, of your game, to give them a way to change the experience for everyone who's experiencing your game. They're buying into the Peter Molyneux, the 22 cans developed Godus, plus a little extra from a...
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but here's the thing. The reality is a lot of games that appear on here are already tweaked. You just don't know about it. There's some bastard game designer behind the scenes tweaking that game. All I'm doing is making that a person out there in the general public.
You're naming names, and in 6 months, you're putting a bounty on this guy's head as the god.
Yeah, I don't think bounty is a quite word, but you're right. It is a way of giving power to a person who you can canvas. You can tweet him. And Brian, his name is Brian. He's from Scotland in the UK, and He was the last person to tap the last cublet to get to the center of the cube. And he's 18 years old, and now he is appeared on Wired and BBC TV. And
is he up for it? I mean, how does he like it?
No, he's totally up for it.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing that he's called Brian, and there was a film called Life of Brian, and it's kind of all
pretty serendipitous.
It is serendipitous. So it's almost divine intervention there. So that's going to be a fascinating thing.
All right.
And of course, it really depends upon how good the game is going to be. So we should talk a bit about that.
So you're reinventing the God game. You're elevating within, to a certain extent, your own God.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so let's talk just a little bit about Godus and what is it like for the player toiling in the world of the divinity Brian. I mean, the player is still playing sort of a god-like role.
Yeah, so let's just have a look at. We're going to go to a demo, but I must warn you that we didn't design an E3 demo. We just, this is what it currently looks like.
You just got some parts of your game, Morgan.
Yeah, exactly. And let's just show you. So you have this place. It's called Homeworld, and it is this amazing landscape. Which is this procedurally generated landscape, which you can sculpt the land. You can change the land. Just like the original game that I did called Populous, you could change the land. Here you could change the land. And we're using all of our expertise over the years to create an amazing simulation. And I'm saying one of my crazy things now. And it's a crazy thing, and I'll be flamed to hell, but what we've said, we worked down and we said, right, we want to put under simulation every grain of sand, every drop of water, every leaf on every tree. Now, that sounds unbelievable. And
ambitious, maybe?
It's ambitious, but here's the thing. Every object in the world is described in a certain way to the simulation. And so when you do things like use your finger or the mouse to sculpt the land, that affects every single object, which has a knock-on effect to every other single object. So when you describe it like that, it doesn't sound so ambitious. And you start the game off with just 2 people, and then as you're playing the game, your people breed and they spread out, and depending on what sort of god you are, and depending on how you've reacted to their needs, and incredibly simple, they'll breed and spread out. And then in this land, there is an enormous number of secrets, and there's an enormous amount of emergent gameplay in this land. So the sort of things that you can decide on is where your people settle. We've got stuff like dynamic water, which you can sculpt on the landscape, and you can create lovely waterfalls for people. If you want to, you can sculpt these incredibly sort of kind of mechanical looking levels. You don't only have to go with the natural beauty. It's completely up to you. And then as you're doing that, it's very calming, it's very restful, it's very relaxing to do that.
Cultivating, you're seeing life bloom in front of you.
And I love that relaxing gameplay. But then you can take your poor little followers at any time into multiplayer battles. And the multiplayer battles could be 1 versus 1, 1 versus many. It could be clan versus clan. It could be clans versus friends. We allow any combination of the two. And then it's your people versus my people plus my god powers. So what you're talking about is battles like this, which is, cool, which is amazingly cool battles. And god powers like this. We haven't actually authored the god powers yet, but I can't show you. So volcanoes and tidal waves which you can pull up.
Those sheep are in trouble.
If you win certain rewards from that battle for your homeworld. Like, for example, we've got the alpha version is out with our Kickstarter pledges at the moment. In the battles, you can win a redhead guy. He comes back into your world. You can breed red-headedness into your people, so you got this redhead people.
And instantly your civilization ascends the pantheon of humanity and is the better for it.
It's the better for it. And the interesting thing is that slowly over the weeks that you play, your little people become more civilized. So eventually they'll start off in these little huts, and eventually they'll build up into these massive civilizations, with kind of skyscrapers. That's the game.
Lovely.
It's very ambitious. Yeah.
I like it. Do you have a little bit of the game to show us here?
I do. This is, as I say, multi-format. So if you're playing on your tablet, you can also play on your PC, and you do all sorts of. So the version I'm going to show you now is on the tablet.
Great. I
intended to show you on the on the Mac, because that looks we're a bit further along on the graphics, but
Okay.
I can at least show you the gameplay. And it's a very, very start of my civilization. So I've only got these 2 little houses, and the sort of things I can do in the world is I can tap away at things, and every tap that I do has meaning. So I'm just clearing this rubble for them. I can decide to clear the trees,
You just
the
deforest. This is already
and
sparse
deforest
desert.
it, which is useful for me because it gives me resources. But the little people love their little trees, so.
Yeah, you know.
And then I can sculpt
Price of
the
progress.
land. Here you can see I'm using my finger just to sculpt the land back. This landscape we're on now is truly vast. It's procedurally generated.
Oh, wow.
It's full of little surprises. You know, this is a ruin. If you can get your people to that ruin, they will rebuild this ruin. This is the portal into the multiplayer world. This allows you to leap into other worlds. But there is a hidden treasure built onto this mountain. So basically,
So you excavate a little bit, and you know,
can excavate a little bit.
and
This
that's
is-
almost an exploration for you, the player. You know, you're finding
Yes.
these clear benefits like the temple for your
Yes.
players to go to, but if there's something buried and you discover it through your terraforming, your land sculpting, it's a little bonus for you, the god.
And I love the fact that you are you're exploring as well as you're building a civilization, and I think that's really cool. So I've just cleared some space for them, and they've decided to build a house. I can push these people out of their house, and they'll go exploring. They're fascinated by what I do, so they're coming over to look at it. And
Get attracted by your actions.
exactly, and that is the relaxing part of Godus.
Mm-hmm.
When you're able to take these little people into the multiplayer battles, that's where it really comes on. So, because we've got all these god powers here, we've got volcanoes, we've got tornadoes, we've got each of these god powers work within the simulation stuff that's there. So it's crazily ambitious. It's very, very early on, and it's something we're absolutely passionate about
Well,
developing.
Peter, it's looking pretty cool so far. I just have one more question before we wrap up here is, so you've sort of gotten a taste of what it's like to be in the game, to wield your powers. Where does the benevolent or malicious finger of Brian come in? How is that going to touch the world?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So Brian he has got this dashboard, and on this dashboard he's got a number of choices. So he could, for example, say, right, Sunday is a day off for all people's followers. So your little people will not come out on Sunday. Or he could say, no, everyone's followers should work double as hard. So he can make those sort of decisions. We will give him moral decisions. You know, should your little people use contraception, for example? Should your little people spend half their day worshipping you, or should they carry on working? So we're going to give him some interesting model questions so he can mix the gameplay up.
And is that going to be something that people playing the game will discover and just say, why are my people just kind of sleeping right now? Brian must have dictated that it be so.
It comes down in the form of a message from your God of Gods, and it
Hopefully
floats
like
down.
with giant
Yeah,
rays of
it's
sunlight
exactly
beams descending
right,
from the sky.
Exactly, precisely right. This is not something he does every minute of every day. He does on certain occasions. Brian has to be careful, however, because within the game we support fully support clans, and within your clan you can agree to follow Brian or not.
Oh.
And then when a clan challenges Brian to a match to end his reign,
Once the 6 months are up, they're
Exactly.
coming for Brian.
if Brian, the power that Brian has is dictated by the number of people that follow him, as opposed to follow the clan. So it's going to be a really interesting. We're hoping that match, will be covered on things like Twitch TV, because it's,
I'm sure will be.
it'll be exciting.
We'll certainly be interested here. And Peter, thank you so much for coming
not
by
at all.
and
It's
talking
a
us
real
through some
pleasure.
Godus. That was
I'm
really...
sorry I haven't got an E3-like demo with all the bells and whistles. and
That's
stuff,
quite all right.
but,
I think it's always fascinating to talk with you and hear the ways you're thinking experimentally about these game design things, thinking ambitiously. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are off to the show floor, perhaps for another look at some chicanery that Homer's up to, or not. In any case, we'll be back for a demo of DuckTales in just a moment.